But question number one is not new. We actually have two different ways of finding the vertex and the axis of symmetry. So our equation that we're starting with is this. Now we're going to go through both ways. These directions didn't stipulate. I can't remember if we got to both ways or not, but we certainly got to one of them. So here we go. Wouldn't it be great? My question is, what's the vertex? What's the axis of symmetry? If my equation looked like this, I would be all set. Because if it looked like this, you could tell me that the vertex was where?
1, 5.
Right 1 of 5, right? And if the vertex, okay, so the parabola right 1 up 5 looks like this. If the vertex is 1, 5, then the axis of symmetry is the line where x equals 1. So as long as our equation looks like that, we're good. But this doesn't look like that. So we'll start by trying to make it look like that. So what are the steps? This should be in your notes. What do we do to make that equation look like that one? What are we going to do? We're going to subtract, I'm going to erase this. We're going to subtract the 11. And then divide everything by 2. And yes, fractions are just a part of it, so we just have to deal with it. So we'll divide everything by 2. And now it's actually ready to complete the square on. So what's our procedure to complete the square? We take half of this number and square it. So half of 4 is 2, squared is 4, and I very carefully add it to both sides. Don't add it to just this side, you gotta add it to both sides. Now, this should be your squared quantity. So what squared quantity is this? X minus 2. These two need to be added together. So you have your 1/2 y, but now you have to add negative 11 halves and 4. So we'll get a common denominator, and we get negative 3 halves. Now we're getting closer to that. What do we need to do? Add the 3 halves to the other side. So 1/2 y equals x minus 2 squared plus 3 halves. And then multiply the 2 back again, and remember, when you multiply by 2, you multiply the parentheses, but not what's in the parentheses. So you multiply this by 2, this by 2, this by 2. So we end up with y equal to 2x minus 2 squared plus 3. Now it looks like that one did. So now you should be able to tell me that your vertex is where?
2, 3.
At 2, 3. Oh, right 2. Shooty. Right 2, up 3. Sometimes that happens. The old cases were so much better than the new ones. They wouldn't let me have an old one, though. All right.
X equals 2.
So vertex is 2, 3, and what's my axis of symmetry? X equals 2. Now, I know we went through a couple of examples of that, and actually this was a little easier because it didn't have as many fractions as the ones we did in class did. There is another way to do this problem, though. Did we talk about that?
Yeah.
Okay. The other way to do the problem is to use the axis of symmetry formula, which is x equals negative b over 2a. So I go back to my original problem. A is 2, B is -8, C is 11. And I just plug into the formula, so X equals positive 8 over 2 times 2, which is 4. So my axis of symmetry is X equals 2. Is that what I got before? Yep. Now, how do I find my vertex from that? This formula gives you your axis of symmetry. So how do you get your vertex?
So 2 is your X.
2 is your X. And then we'll plug it in. So we have, I'm putting in 2. So I have 2 times 4 minus 16 plus 11. So it's 8 minus 16 plus 11, which is 3. Same thing I got when I did it the other way, of course. Now, question number 2, which we haven't talked about, but it's easy, is going backwards. If we have a parabola whose vertex is at 1, 4, and it contains the point -2, 10, what would its equation be? All right, now think about this for a minute. You know the vertex. Think backwards. Remember when you had this equation? You could tell the vertex from that equation, right? So if I know the vertex, what can you tell me about the equation, Chandler?
Y equals X minus 1 squared plus 4.
I think he's right on. I think he's right on target. That's the foundation of the equation, but that is not the whole equation. Can somebody explain to me what is missing? Okay, the equation that I write has to contain the point -210. All right, so I want you to think about this for a minute. The vertex of this parabola is 1, 4. Are there lots of parabolas that have a vertex at 1, 4? Okay, pretend I'm a parabola whose vertex is 1, 4. Could I look like this?
Yeah, go down.
Could I look like this?
Yeah. So then,
Could I look like this?
yeah.
Oh my gosh, how many parabolas are there that have a vertex of 1, 4? A lot. We want the particular one that is just wide enough to go through that point right there. What controls the size of the parabola? The multiplier you put out in front. Doesn't that control your size?
Oh, yeah.
It's not what you add and subtract. That controls where you start. I do not have any idea what that number is. But that number controls whether I'll go through that point or not. So any ideas how we might find that number? Exactly. I want this equation to fit this point. So there's my X and there's my Y. So I'll put in 10 equals -2 minus 1 squared plus 4. Here's my X and Y, so I'm putting in Y and X into my foundation. And now I'm going to be able to figure out what that multiplier has to be. So -2 minus 3, or -2 minus 1 is 3 squared, so that'd be 9n. So 6 equals 9n, and n equals 2/3? So the answer to the question is right here. Okay, let's try another one. Obviously not on the sheet, but let me just make one up. Let's suppose we want to write the equation of the parabola whose vertex is -3, 2, and it contains the point, let's see, -3, 2. And let's say it contains the point 1, -5. So there's my problems running in my graph, but 1, -5 is done. So this parabola looks like this. Right, we're gonna write that equation. So think about what we did right here. How shall we start? What will be our beginning?
What's
Y
that?
equals, Y equals, well, I don't know what this number is. It better come out negative when I figure it out, but I'm not gonna put that negative in right now. I'm just gonna say, okay, n better come out negative because my parabola appears to be opening down. What goes in these parentheses? X plus 3, what goes on the end? Plus 2, there you go, perfect. So that is your foundation. Now, how do we figure out what that n is? We know it's going to be negative, but how do we figure it out? We plug in 1, -5. So -5 equals n times 1 plus 3 squared plus 2. So -5 equals n times 16 plus 2. -7 equals 16n, so n equals -7/16. So we knew it was going to be negative. Now we know it's -7/16. So when you see this quiz, or that problem on your quiz, and you're on your own, no notes, no friend, you're going to be able to do that.
What would you do if the n is inside the parentheses?
The n will not be inside the parentheses. If you are writing your equation from the vertex, you're starting with the vertex, then it will never be in there. The parentheses will always be x plus or x minus.
So you start, like, on a test, will you give us the graph, so we draw the parabola up or down, so we know?
No, you will know from the 2 points that are given. I mean, if you plotted those 2 points, it would be obvious that it opens down. No, that will come out automatically. You don't even need to worry about it. It will come out automatically. All right, and then the third question, which should be in your notes, doesn't have anything to do with parabolas. It says, write the equation of the linear function. These are quadratic functions. Write the equation of the linear function. Say that in English.
Linear.
Write the equation of the line, right? So immediately you should be thinking something like y equals mx plus b. Now what have you been given? You've been given 2 ordered pairs. What are the 2 ordered pairs you've been given? 1, 3 and -2, 9. Do not turn those around. When you have a function, this is x. So when we say f of 1 is 3, this is x. All right, so what do?
You gotta solve.
Gotta find the
9
slope.
minus 3.
So 9 minus 3, -2 minus 1, I got a slope of -2. right? So then we use point slope or slope intercept. I don't care, it doesn't matter. I'm a point slope person, so I will do it this way. But we're gonna end up with exactly the same answer. Y equals negative 2x plus 5 is the answer. So if you're doing it the other way, you should get b equals 5.
That one's easy.
It is easy. It's easy. It's always easy. Okay. All right. So next time we meet, is it tomorrow?
Yes.
Tomorrow we're going to have a quiz. And you're on your own, no notes. You got to know how to do these problems.
Same as that one. Or you wanna switch it up?
I think I'll probably change the numbers. I may put them in a different order. But yes, I will commit to these 3 problems. Okay? All right. Now, I need you to open up your books.
Should have asked. She might have. She might have.
To page 184. And we are going to do some word problems now. And just like in the that 1.7 section, there are a bunch of different kinds. I kind of focused you last time on those cylinder problems and the mixture problems, but focus you this time on a couple of different kinds. So, the kinds that I am focusing you on
What page is this?
184. The kind that I'm focusing you on, I'm going to start with number 58. So I want you to read the question, number 58, read it. Tell me what in the world's going on.
Hey, what page is it?
184.
Still a little long.
Any ideas? What's going on? Well, if you're the apartment owner, you want to make as much money as you can, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what being a business is about? Okay, so right now, how much money is the apartment complex making? We call it revenue. It's their income. How much are they bringing in right now? 300 a month from how many people? They're making $300 a month, so this is the rent per month, times how many apartments do they currently have rented? 800. So right now, if you're this guy that owns this, or this lady that owns this apartment complex, this is how much revenue you're bringing in every month, right? Now, somebody has done some research and concluded that if you decrease your rent $5, you will rent an additional 20 apartments. Will that change your income? Yeah, because then it would be $295 times 820. But if you did that twice, dropped your rent twice, it would be $290 times 840, and so on and so on and so on. You are interested in which of these is going to give you the biggest number, right? You want to maximize it. Find the maximum. Let's see. Our rent is going down 5 a month, and our apartments are going up 20 a month. How could I express that? gonna start with my 300 and I'm gonna subtract. I'm lowering the price. What am I subtracting, Thomas? 5x. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And why am I subtracting 5x? X is the number of times that you decrease the price. If you decrease once, your price goes down to $2.95. If you decrease twice, it goes down to $2.90. I'm trying to figure out how many times to decrease it. Now, what's that do to my rent? Well, it started out as not rent, but my number of apartments. It started out, I had 800 of them rented. But that number's gonna go up in increments of 20. So plus 20x. Every x gives me an additional 20. All right, now I want you to multiply this out. So you can use your calculator to help you. I'm going to multiply it out. Do not be scared of the big numbers. That's what you have a calculator for. So my revenue equation came out to be negative 100x squared plus 2,000x plus 240,000. Does that look okay to everybody?
You spoiled that.
I boiled it, yes. Now, what shape is that? It's a parabola opening. Oh my gosh. I want the maximum of a parabola opening down. What do I want?
Vertex.
The vertex. Now, I get a choice. I get to pick. I'm going to use my formula instead of completing a square with all these big numbers. So, x equals negative b over 2a. I got 10. Now, what was the question? What rent will yield the maximum monthly income? All right, what does that X stand for? Is that $10? Is that 10 apartments? What is that?
Number of decreases.
The number of decreases. And every decrease was worth how many dollars? $5. So if I am decreasing 10 times, then what is my optimum rent price to get the most money I can? $250. Because it started out at 300, you're losing 5 10 times, so you should charge $250. Now, notice that I didn't actually find my whole vertex. I found that the x-coordinate was 10. What if I would have, I didn't need to in this problem, but what if I would have plugged 10 into my equation and gotten my y value? What would that y value have represented? The actual revenue. This is y right here, right? Y equals, if you were to type this in, this is y equals. So your revenue would have come out right here. So if the question had said, what is your maximum revenue? Then you would have plugged 10 in and gotten the y value. Okay? All right, here's what you get to do. And as soon as you do this, you get to go to lunch. Okay? okay? And you may work together. It's gonna be a group project.
No lunch for you.
I want you to look at number 59, which is exactly the same problem. So here's what I want you to bring me. I want you to bring me the equation for your revenue, and I want you to bring me the answer to the question. And one question I want your answer to is, how much per can should you be charging?
What section? How'd you get my size? Page 182.
Alright, so you're gonna bring me the equation, and then you're gonna bring me how much per can should we be charging.
You get less. Did you say
59?
Oh, you know I will.
Yes. 59.
I'll give you a hint, it's exactly the same